Helen Van Winkle, the flamboyantly dressed great-grandmother who defied every stereotype of age and transformed herself into a global social media phenomenon under the iconic persona of Baddie Winkle, has passed away at the remarkable age of 97. Her passing marks the end of an extraordinary life that was as unpredictable as it was inspiring, a life that proved joy, rebellion, and self-expression know no age limit. News of her death was shared with the world by her great-granddaughter on September 5th through an Instagram post that immediately captured the bittersweet blend of grief and celebration felt by her family and her millions of fans. "Yesterday, an era ended and a star ascended," the tribute read. "My great-grandmother, Helen Ruth Elam Van Winkle, danced her way to heaven. She was joy, rebellion, and tenderness wrapped in one." The heartfelt words were accompanied by an unforgettable image of Van Winkle in her trademark eccentric fashion, a white pageboy wig framing her face, a shirt emblazoned with the cheeky words, "Bad Mother F," and a long-stemmed rose held delicately in her hand. It was a photo that captured her essence perfectly, a woman who was not afraid to shock, to laugh, and to embrace life with unapologetic boldness, even in her final years. Her great-granddaughter closed the tribute with words that resonated, far beyond their family circle. "The crown is eternal, and her love on many realms will live forever. This isn't a goodbye. This is a see you later, my superstar." In those few lines, one could feel the essence of what Helen Van Winkle meant not just to her loved ones, but to the countless strangers across the globe who saw in her a reminder that life was meant to be lived with color, laughter, and perhaps just a little bit of mischief. No official cause of death was revealed, but her passing leaves behind a legacy that few could ever hope to match. Even her Instagram bio, which read with characteristic sass, "Stealing yo man since 1928, stands as a reminder of how she refused to let age strip her of humor, confidence, or boldness. Helen Van Winkle's journey to internet superstardom was nothing short of unlikely. Born in 1928, she lived through nearly a century of cultural transformation. She was raised in a time when women were often expected to remain demure, conservative, and confined to narrow definitions of respectability. Yet, even as she fulfilled her roles as a wife, mother, and grandmother, there was always a spark of playfulness and rebellion within her. That spark, however, did not fully ignite until much later in life. Her rise to fame began almost by accident in 2014, when her great-granddaughter encouraged her to post playful photos online. At first, it was simply a fun distraction, a way for her to cope with the devastating grief she carried following the deaths of her husband and her son. For many people, grief tends to close doors, shrink horizons, and narrow lives. For Helen, it did something unexpected. It cracked her open, allowing her to rediscover a part of herself that had long been buried under the weight of responsibility and tragedy. She began posting pictures in vibrant, often outrageous outfits, tie-dye shirts, neon accessories, bold makeup, and humorous slogans like, "Will commit sins for Chipotle." These images didn't just attract laughs, they attracted admiration. People saw not just a grandmother dressing up in youthful clothes, but a fearless spirit challenging the world's assumptions about aging, style, and fun. In a world where youth is often fetishized and aging is treated as something to fear or hide, Helen Van Winkle turned the narrative upside down. She became Baddie Winkle, the woman who proudly wore short shorts, glitter, tie-dye, and fur coats, who smoked fake joints in music videos, who unapologetically embraced sexuality, humor, and extravagance at an age when society expected her to fade quietly into the background. She became, in essence, a symbol of rebellion against the invisibility that too often swallows older women whole. Her Instagram presence quickly exploded. Time magazine named her one of the 30 most influential people on the internet, an honor that placed her in the same conversation as pop stars, politicians, and activists. What made Baddie stand out wasn't just her clothes or her cheeky slogans, but the undeniable authenticity behind them. She wasn't chasing fame the way young influencers often do. She wasn't selling a carefully curated lifestyle of unattainable perfection. She was, quite simply, being herself, unfiltered, humorous, and alive. And in a digital landscape often saturated with artifice, that kind of authenticity was magnetic. Fashion brands soon took notice. Invitations rolled in, asking her to model, to attend red carpet events, and to collaborate with labels that wanted to capture some of her magic. She rubbed shoulders with celebrities half and even a quarter her age, yet she always managed to outshine them with her charisma. Her appearance on Cocktails with Khloe in 2016 was one of many examples. Sitting beside Khloe Kardashian, Baddie confessed her crush on Drake with the playful openness that had become her trademark. The clip went viral, proving once again that age was irrelevant when it came to charm and humor. But beneath the sequins, the wigs, and the cheeky one-liners, there was a deeper story about resilience and reinvention. Helen Van Winkle's life was not without struggle. Losing her husband and her son was a pain that could have easily consumed her. Instead, she chose a path of light, a way of keeping herself not only afloat but soaring. Each outrageous outfit, each bold post was more than just entertainment. It was an act of defiance against despair, a declaration that life was still worth celebrating. In this sense, her internet persona was not just a quirky character, but a profound statement. She reminded people that self-expression doesn't have an expiration date. That grief, though heavy, can sometimes give way to joy in the most unexpected ways. That laughter, silliness, and flamboyance can coexist with loss and heartache. Millions who followed her online didn't just see an eccentric grandmother. They saw hope for their own futures, permission to live unapologetically at any age. Even as she approached her 100th year, Baddie Winkle never softened her edges. Her captions remained cheeky, her outfits remained bold, and her energy remained infectious. To the end, she lived as she had redefined herself, as a woman who broke rules, shattered stereotypes, and inspired generations. Her death leaves a void in the social media landscape, but her influence lingers. She opened doors for conversations about aging, visibility, and the freedom to reinvent oneself at any stage in life. Her passing is not just the loss of a person, but the closing of a cultural chapter. Yet, just as her great-granddaughter wrote, "This is not truly a goodbye." Helen Van Winkle's crown, her unapologetic boldness, her laughter, her defiance, remains eternal. And somewhere in the hearts of the millions she touched, Baddie Winkle is still dancing, still laughing, and still reminding us all to live brightly, rebelliously, and joyfully until the very end. In the days following Helen Van Winkle's passing, social media platforms that she once dominated were flooded with tributes. Fans posted old clips of her in bright wigs, laughing on camera or striking bold poses in neon swimsuits. Many wrote about how she had helped them through dark times simply by existing as a reminder that joy was possible, even after pain. Younger, followers admitted that she gave them hope for the future, that growing old didn't mean losing relevance, beauty, or laughter. Older followers saw her as a warrior, someone who fought against the invisibility that so many people experience in later life. To them, Baddie wasn't just entertainment. She was a mirror showing what was possible when fear was replaced with fearlessness.